My name is Mira, I'm 35, a mother of two, and until a year ago, I truly believed I had the perfect marriage. My husband, Samir, was the man everyone admired, charming, articulate, a respected regional manager for a multinational firm. He traveled often for work, and I used to feel proud watching him in his element, speaking confidently, commanding rooms. We were the couple people envied, or so it seemed. We married young college sweethearts with full support from both our families. In the beginning, we were inseparable. Movie nights, silly laughter, holding hands like we were still teenagers. But like many marriages, the spark faded. The late-night conversations turned into silence. The affection slowly vanished, replaced by routines, responsibilities, and exhaustion. Still, I believed this was normal, just a phase. Life piles on, and sometimes love hides behind laundry and bills. What I didn't realize was that while I was holding our life together, it already let go. The first shift happened last summer. Samir came back from a work trip to Lahore, and something was off. Not dramatically, but unmistakably. He was distant, protective of his phone. He took long evening walks alone with his AirPods in, saying he needed to unwind. I wanted to trust him. I didn't want to be that wife. But my instincts wouldn't rest. Then one evening, while folding laundry, I saw a message pop up on his phone from someone saved as Just See. The preview read, "Can't stop thinking about last night." I froze. When Samir walked in and saw me holding his phone, his whole demeanor shifted from relaxed to sharp, defensive. He snatched it from my hands and accused me of invading his privacy. I didn't shout, I didn't cry. I just asked, "Who is Z?" He brushed it off. "A client, a marketing contact." "She jokes around," he said with a smug half smile I'd seen too many times before. The smile he wore when he lied that night. I cried silently beside him while he slept without a care. I wanted to believe it was a misunderstanding, but the signs kept piling up. Late walks, sudden work dinners, and a phone he never left unattended. I couldn't eat, I couldn't sleep. But I refused to confront him again without proof. So I started collecting it. I made a separate email account. I took screenshots of texts and travel logs. I installed discreet software on his laptop that synced WhatsApp web activity to my inbox. It felt wrong, but not more wrong than what he was doing. Within weeks, I had everything. Photos of them together, her hand on his chest. Selfies from hotel balconies. Dinner reservations under her name, Zara. She was 10 years younger, bold, flirtatious, unapologetic. A PR executive he met during a campaign. What started his business had turned into a full-fledged affair. The worst part? My kids still adored him. They waited at the window every evening for Papa to come home. And I'd lie through my teeth. "He's busy with work, sweetheart. He'll be home soon." I could have exploded, confronted him, burned it all down, but I didn't, because I wanted more than revenge. I wanted to reclaim myself, so I started quietly changing. I dressed differently, not for him, but for me. I joined a gym, painted again, took online business courses. I rebuilt myself while he wasn't paying attention, and then I made my move. I told him I was offered a part-time job at an art studio downtown. He barely reacted, probably relieved I'd be too busy to notice his lies. What he didn't know was that the studio was owned by my childhood friend, Neha, who also happened to run a side business as a private investigator. Together, we gathered everything: voice recordings, surveillance, timelines. I had Zara's voice on tape mocking me, calling me boring and clueless. I wasn't broken by it, I was fueled by it. I didn't want to expose him in public. That would be too easy. I wanted to take away what he loved most, control. So I waited. I played the devoted wife, smiled for his parents, packed his bags, kissed his cheek, all while holding a storm behind my eyes. He thought I was either stupid or defeated. And then our anniversary. I planned everything. A rooftop restaurant, close friends, family. I wore the red sari he used to say was his favorite. He looked at me like he had one, but he had no idea. The perfect moment was coming, surprised, even guilty when he saw the arrangements. I could see it in his eyes. He thought I was still in love with him that night when the cake was cut and thespiches began. I asked to say a few words. I took the mic, smiled, and looked around the room filled with people who knew us as the perfect couple. Then I spoke, "Thank you all for being here tonight. This marriage has taught me many things: patience, strength, and most importantly, truth. The truth is loving about how well you smile in publics. It's about loyalty when no one is watching, and sometimes the ones closest. You are the ones who betray you." The Pessy room went silent. My husband shifted in his seat. I turned toward him and added, "Samir, I hope Zara was worth it, because from this day on, you've lost the only woman who ever truly stood by you." And just like that, I walked out, but that was only the beginning of my revenge walking. Out that night was not the end. It was only the start of a new chapter where I would no longer be the victim of my husband's betrayal, the guests at the anniversary dinnerware speechless, and Samir sat frozen in his chair as the weight of his double life came crashing down. His phone buzzed repeatedly afterward as friends and family tried to process what had just unfolded, but I didn't wait for anyone's response. I went home, packed my essentials, and took my children to my parents' house. That very night, my parents were heartbroken but stood by me. They had always respected Samir, trusted him, and believed we had the kind of marriage I thought others admired, but now they saw the truth. My father, a man of few words, simply said, "Dignity first, Mara, you did the right thing." My mother held my hand and whispered, "Now rebuild for yourself, for your children." In the days that followed, Samir tried to call, message, and Ivan sent flowers. He didn't expect me to act so decisively. He had always assumed I was too dependent, too docile to take steps. But he had misunderstood misalliance for weakness and truth. My silence had been preparation. He tried to meet me in person, but I refused. My lawyer advised me to keep a distance. I had already filed for separation and begun custody proceedings. Everything I needed was well documented thanks to the months I spent gathering evidence with sharp screenshots, voice recordings, bank statements, showing money spent on Zara. It was all neatly compiled into a file. My lawyer now carried into every legal meeting. Samir's image in front of his family and colleagues began to crumble. News of the affair spread not because I publicized it, but because people talk. His office was not pleased. The company worked for had strict ethical policies, and his behavior violated several codes of conduct. An internal investigation was launched. He was suspended pending review. Zara, who unflaunted her relationship with my husband, disappeared the moment the consequences started piling up. She stopped answering his calls, deleted her social media, and left her job under mysterious circumstances. I later learned Ned Zara had been seeing more than just May's husband. She was involved with a few other senior executives, playing them all for personal gain. Once the scandal broke, Ivrion distanced themselves from her. Samir found himself isolated. His charm no longer protected him. The same people praised him at business events now avoided him. Friends who once admired or perfect marriage didn't know how to speak to him anymore. His world was collapsing piece by piece, not because he screamed or made a scene, but because that truth, once revealed, does its own damage. Meanwhile, I kept moving forward with Naya's encouragement. I turned my part-time work at the art studio into something more permanent. I began offering private art classes, slowly building a small business that gave me financial independence. The art that once was a hobby became my therapy. Each painting was a reminder that I was building my life with my own hands. My children adapted to. At first, they missed their father terribly, but I never spoke ill of him in front of them. I simply told them that grown-up problems, sometimes meant parents had to live separately, but both of us still loved them. As the custody hearings continued, Samir's desperation grew. He tried to negotiate. He tried to apologize. He even begged for another chance, blaming Zara entirely for his actions. "It was a mistake, Mira. She manipulated him. I was weak, but I love you. I always shave," he said during one of our mediated sessions. For a moment, I almost laughed, not because it was funny, but because it was absurd how predictable his excuses were. Like every cheater who gets caught, he painted himself as the victim of seduction, pretending he was shelpless in the face of temptation. Looked him straight in the eye and calmly said, "Samir, you are not weak, you were selfish. You made a choice every single time you lied to me. Every time you went to her, every time you looked me in the eye and denied it. That was your choice. Don't insult my intelligence by calling it weakness." Mediator remained silent. Even they could sense the emptiness in his words. The court eventually ruled in my favor. Full custody of the children was granted to me, while Samir received supervised advisation rights to the house, which was bought mostly from my father's investment in the early days of our marriage was awarded to me as well. His financial obligations were clear loot land, including child support payments that he couldn't escape. Legally, I had one, but I wasn't done yet, because the Revens isn't just about legal victories. It's about changing the narrative. Months later, I was invited to speak at a women's entrepreneurship event organized by Naya's network. I shared my journey not with bitterness, but with strength. Spoke about betrayal, rebuilding, and rising from heartbreak. My story resonated with many women who faced similar situations but lacked that courage or resources to act. I became a mentor to a few of them, helping them regain control over their lives. Word of my public speaking and growing business reached many circles, including Samir. He heard about my success through mutual acquaintances. His pride, already bruised by the scandal, now faced a different kind of wound. One that comes from watching someone you underestimate tries higher than ever. He tried one final desperate move. One evening, while dropping the children off, he waited until they went inside and approached me. "Mira, you've made your point. You've punished me enough. Can we at least talk? We're once happy together." I stood firm. "No, Samir. I was happy you were lying. There's nothing left for us to talk about." He looked older, tired, almost faded. The man who once walked into rooms with confidence now barely look at him in the eye. "But you're doing so well." "No," he said softly, almost like a compliment. I replied, "Yes, because you taught me never to depend on Nanyan but myself." With that, I closed the door behind me. That night, I looked at my children sleeping peacefully and realized I had finally taken back everything he tried to steal from me. My dignity, my confidence, my future, but there was still one last piece left in my plan, the part that would ensure he never forgets who truly won. The final step in my journey wasn't fueled by anger, but by quiet determination. Samir had already lost so much: his job, his reputation, his familial from the choices he made, but I knew his ego still clung to the hope that heckled rebuild. That hope was the only thing left for me to touch. An unexpected opportunity arrived. A corporate partner, impressed by my entrepreneurship, offered a spot in a national campaign promoting women-owned businesses. My face appeared on billboards, television interviews, and social media everywhere. Samir once stood proud. Now my Namera placed his through mutual acquaintance. I heard whispers of how he watched my rise from afar. Friends said looked smaller, now like a man carrying invisible weight. One evening, I received a message from him. "I've seen your interviews. You look happy. I'm glad for you." I never replied. Later, I was invited to speak at a corporate ethics seminar. Ironically, Samir was in the audience, attending for his own reputational rehabilitation hour. Eyes met briefly when I walked on stage. He looked older, tired, hollow, and spoke calmly. "The choices we make in private don't stay hidden forever. Betrayal doesn't define you. What defines you is how you're built." Afterward, when I finished, I walked past him. Hadn't stopped me. There was nothing left to say. I had won, not with public humiliation, but with dignity. Strength and success. Samir moved away, trying to start elsewhere. I held no hatred on Leapy's. My children thrived, my business flourished, and I finally found happiness. My revenge was complete, not through his destruction, but through my own rebirth. Asterisk, thanks for listening. Bye.